Welcome to the RD Squeeze. I'm Micki.
And I'm Emily.
And we're two dietitian besties here to squeeze out the misinformation around health and nutrition.
Hey everyone, welcome to the RD Squeeze. It's Emily and Micki here with you in our final episode of season 2. So we're going to look at giving back, growing forward, and volunteering in the dietetics profession, which Micki and I have done a lot of. So we have lots of experience here. I think it's a great topic to talk about for students, interns, new dietitians, or dietitians just looking to kind of reignite their passion too for the field. I think that's definitely a benefit of volunteering, I think. So we're going to dive right in. I think we're going to really touch on, so we do a lot of volunteering in the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, but we are going to touch on a little bit later some of the other areas that you could volunteer in. A lot of these like associations, memberships, things like that, very similar things that you can volunteer for. So what we talk about with the Academy might be available in many of the other associations or memberships that you have or want to be a part of as well. So we're going to touch on initially the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, which is kind of the main umbrella for nutrition and dietetics professionals. There are other associations that many dietitians are a part of, but this is the biggest one that we've touched on before for dietitians so far. So within that, there's national kind of different areas of the Academy. There's affiliates, there's the DPGs and the MIGs or the MIGs that we will get into as well. And we've touched on those acronyms a little bit before, but we'll go into them again today. So with these different sectors or sections of the Academy, there's volunteers running them. No one's really getting paid to do these things. They're kind of extra roles, but volunteering for our profession is something that allows you to grow as a professional. It can enhance your opportunities for different roles. I mean, obviously it looks great on a resume, but that's kind of could lead into some new roles and different opportunities. And again, just kind of that personal benefit to give you the passion and the reigniting of what got you into the field. And a lot of times I will say, like, starting off as a dietitian, you might not have your dream job, but being involved, volunteering for things like this can get you that dream job as well, or can get you into something you never thought of, because as you network and talk with people that you're volunteering with, you learn a lot about other things, maybe what they're doing, and it ignites you to just learn about that and maybe try a role in that area as well. So with volunteering too, I think a lot of things that we do, not just in the Academy, but elsewhere, maybe it's in your job, maybe you're part of different committees, it really can allow us to kind of create or develop even new policies, and other professional development areas that, again, maybe you didn't think of, or that can lead to something else. It can lead to growth somewhere. I'm part of a lot of committees and have been in my current role, and it's allowed me not to just network with people, to learn from them and their skills and be able to build upon those skills, and then seek out other volunteer opportunities to grow skills that maybe I could use in my current role or even future roles for whoever that might be too. So there really is a lot of growth benefit from being a volunteer. I think as well, looking at the Academy, so we've got the Academy, this big overarching umbrella of a lot of volunteer opportunities, but then we bring it to like your state level. Your states then are also run by all volunteers as well. So these levels or the amount of volunteers needed in dietetics is pretty extensive. Getting involved in this is networking. Like, I got my roles from networking, and I continued to obtain roles from networking with people. because I saw the need. I saw the profession needed someone in those positions. And I didn't always see it as like a professional development thing for myself. I more saw it as I was filling a role because they needed someone in there and I needed to do this for my profession. But now I look back and I'm like, wow, look at how much that made me grow in certain areas. We've talked about how Micki and I met pretty much doing our volunteer roles and how our friendship has grown and how this podcast was pretty much created upon doing volunteer opportunities. So that was at the state and then the local level. Our state used to have district levels of volunteers then as well. So we had presidents of our local district areas, and then there was the state level, and then there was the academy level. Unfortunately, our state, we've had some changes. It's been difficult to fill those volunteer roles. So what we've gone to is a more regional model for that, meaning that we still have someone who kind of oversees the region, the district area, but you don't necessarily have like a secretary, a treasurer, a president-elect, those types of roles, people who are doing just professional development, like where Micki and I started off in. They're not doing those specific roles. That's kind of brought out at the state level, if you will. So it's allowed us to not feel as stressed, I would say, about trying to fill those roles. But at the same time, it shows us that we really need these volunteer positions to be filled because it does benefit our profession. It benefits everyone in the profession, not just those who are in the roles, or that it's benefiting if you're doing a seminar, if you will. So within our state, I think more opportunities have come about to be involved at the state level than now locally at your kind of district or regional level. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think sometimes being at the state level, it gets you seen more, you get to network throughout the state. So our state's very large. And so it gets you to network with a lot of different dietitians. And it's wonderful. It's a wonderful opportunity there. There's so many different positions too, and each state will kind of stay on the state level. Each state has their own need. So Pennsylvania doesn't have the same needs as Delaware and New York and Maryland, for example. We all have different needs. And so that's where some of the positions might be created upon. They might be kind of combined one year because they know they haven't been getting volunteers in the past. And again, that's based on the need, that's based on the needs of and the strategic goals that each affiliate of the academy puts together. So maybe that's just not something that they're looking at again moving forward. And they can combine roles. There's nothing wrong with that at all. But having more roles gives other people opportunity to maybe switch up what they're doing, or gives newer dietitians or interns the opportunity to volunteer as well.
Yeah, I mean, hi guys. Hello, I'm here, I promise. If you're just listening and not watching. So I mean, Emily, I think you covered a lot in the first half of this episode. So with that said, like you said, there's a lot of different committees and different roles that can be done in these organizations. So most of the time it really depends on your state and how big it is. So believe it or not, Pennsylvania is actually one of the bigger states that has more representation than some other states. So like a state like Delaware or I'm trying to think, probably like Rhode Island, something. They only have just their one state affiliate. They don't have it broken out into regions or districts. Like you had mentioned, there has been some changes to the regional format, and there's been pros and cons and benefits to all that. But regardless of that happening, most of us are volunteering because either we want to be involved in our profession, we see the benefit in that, but we do need help. I think that's like one of the biggest things that we talk about a lot is there's a benefit to having people be involved because you have a say. You're sitting with the people who are making decisions basically for you if you're not involved. So at the state level, there is a president, a vice president, secretary, treasurer. We do have in Pennsylvania, we do have somebody that is kind of like our chief executive administration officer type person, where they are hired by the state, and that's because we get money from the academy based on the membership and how people affiliate. We are able to pay somebody to kind of keep us on target, basically. So we do have that option. Some affiliates do not have that option. So, like Delaware, for instance, I don't think they have that option because they are a smaller state and they don't get as much funding from the academy. It's called a rebate, basically, where like however many members are affiliates, you get money back from that. But regardless, they just are doing the administration type stuff, like keeping us on track, paperwork, things like that. It is really volunteer run. So if there's something that's not happening and you want to see it happen, you might need a volunteer for that, or maybe the role's unfilled or something like that. So we have a planning committee for our annual conference. We have a public policy committee. We have an idea committee, so an inclusion, diversity, equity, and access committee. I'm currently the chair of that committee for Pennsylvania. And so it really depends. So there's a lot of various ways you can become involved. It doesn't necessarily have to be in like these executive board positions. And sometimes it's not always like a hard time commitment. Like sometimes we just need people and bodies to kind of like help support these roles. Now, obviously it does help when there's more people involved. It helps lessen the burden of these people. And the other problem is I feel like we're recycling a lot of the same people, so then eventually they end up getting burnt out, which is I think the problem. And one of the reasons why we don't see as many people volunteering right now is because people are setting those boundaries and those mental health boundaries or whatever, and they don't want to be involved and they don't want to spend the time because they have so much other extra stuff they have to do, whether it's work, school, family, other like extra activities, whatever it is. They just don't have the time to dedicate to this as maybe we once did in the past. And there's so many other ways that people are involved, or maybe they just don't want to, and that's okay. But overall, it's really important to get involved with your state, or even we'll talk about some other ways to get involved. But I think overall, like that's like the overarching thing is like people should be involved, and even if it's not something that you can dedicate, however long it is, and if you feel like it's such a hard time commitment, there might be smaller roles that you can still participate in and help out with without having that super heavy time commitment. So I don't know.
Yeah, and I think today, as we've kind of changed in our state to these more regional models, there's more event planning or like committees to be on for a short period of time, not like this extended period. Micki and I again have been involved. I'm taking my mental health break now. I was involved for I don't know, 10 years I think with the state and the local level. And I just needed a little bit of a break because I'd been go, 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 go. I still love it. I still want to get back involved. I still may join a committee. Probably next year I will join again. but I just needed that little bit of a break because some of the things like our annual conference, in the past, we didn't have like as much support, I would say, as our current support from that kind of like administrative side. We had a lot, but I will say like now I've been on the committee in the past couple of years and like there's a lot more support. So when I was actually co-chair of running the state meeting, I mean, it was one of our biggest meetings we've had and I loved it. I loved every minute of it, but it was a part-time job. I would come home from my 8-hour day at work and I would work another 4 to 6 hours on emails and figuring out things and organizing. But I loved it. The end of the day, like the end result was amazing. And I just think it really allows you to grow. And I networked so much from that conference that I'm still close with people who were at that conference. I'm close with, the people who ran that conference. We still kind of chat. We're Facebook friends, things like that. Like it just allows you to have other connections. And maybe it's not nutrition and dietetics related. Like maybe it's because you have kids in the same sport and you see each other at, tournaments or something like that. There's nothing wrong with that at all. That's part of networking. That's part of your whole life too. And as Micki said, some people are taking breaks. I think today, the go of kids and after school activities, I think a lot of our parents that are in dietetics are having that kind of like struggle of, I want to be involved, but I can't balance my kids' stuff with what maybe I want to do. And it's totally understandable. But a lot of the current roles, I think, going back to that, are more short term. Or you can say, like, hey, I can't commit this, but I can commit this. And the people that have been on the boards or the committees can say, this might be a better role for you. We could use you here. Why don't we have you as our go to? Why don't we just communicate via email? And when you can come to meetings, things like that. So I think it's a little bit more flexible now. And I do like that. I do miss the camaraderie of like our local and even the state, like getting together. I know the meetings now are kind of like more virtual and only one in person. I think it just brings you together to be in person. I am more of an in-person person. So, when Micki and I are sitting next to each other, it's a better conversation. This is great. But like, I love having her right next to me and us being able to enjoy, the couch. So
Yeah, I empathize with you. I mean, as we've mentioned in past episodes, I was the president for Pennsylvania, and that was so time consuming and so much effort, and I still didn't get half the stuff that I wanted to get done at the time. There's always stuff that can be done, right? There's always the work is never going to be done no matter where you're volunteering, and I think that's the benefit of like giving back though, is like that there's always something to be working towards, and there's always room for improvement, and there's always something that you want to see changed in your communities. But regardless, like it is a lot of work, and I do understand why people may not want to. But did I find it very rewarding? Absolutely. Did I find it um like I just loved being able to listen to my peers and figure out what was important to them, because again, I'm in a different area as Emily is, and I'm in a different area than some of my other colleagues, and what's important to me may not be important to them, but like knowing that we're all sort of in this web of one thing affects another thing that affects another thing, and that just like how we can all work together and hear from each other and just be cooperating to work together towards like at least some sort of shared vision and strategic kind of plan, essentially, which I mean, that's a whole thing, but like you're just like working towards this one thing. But, you know, what I loved about being president, and I think the same thing like what you loved about being AME co-chair, and you were on the nominating committee, you were the nominating chair, like you get to make these connections, and that was like the best part of it. It was just like having that done. So if you are somebody that is likes to expand your network, that's a great opportunity to do that. So um there's
another
pros
thing.
and cons to volunteering, but more so I think the rewarding aspect and the pros outweigh the cons.
It
Again,
does.
it's okay to take a break. I'm actually, I mean, let's be honest, I've had this conversation I think with you, Emily, but like I think I might need a break. Like I'm very, very burnt out at this point
Yeah.
with a lot of things, and I'm just like maybe I should just take a step back. And that's okay. Like I'm not saying you're never going to hear from me again. I'm not going to do this again. It's just like sometimes you just need time to focus on other things.
Well, and like you said too, we've had kind of like a revolving door of like we've all kind of just shuffled our roles, and we want others' engagement. We want your opinions. We don't want this to be just an us thing. We want to be involved, but why doesn't someone else step up? We are here. We are here to support you. We're here to guide you as needed, but we need other people to kind of step into those roles. And
Well,
I think we're seeing that.
Well, and I think too, like that brings the fresh ideas to it. And
Mhm.
I'm not saying it needs to be all young dietitians. We
No.
want the like what I think I get sad about is people who have volunteered for so long, and then they're maybe they feel like they're older or they're not in the loop, and then they don't want to volunteer. And I'm like,
Hmm.
no, your opinion still matters and is still valid, and your ideas matter just as much as somebody who's just coming into the profession. Now, I'm not saying I don't want to see young people volunteer either. I think that's the area where we try to market it as much, because usually those people are the ones that don't have as many maybe other adult commitments. I don't want to say like they don't have families or something, because I'm sure some of them do. I'm not saying that, but like maybe they just don't have as many commitments. Like I know when
Right.
I was in school, I had way less commitments than I do now, and I'm sure as I get older I will have more commitments later on that'll make it harder for me. But that's
Right.
why I wanted to do it now. Like that's why I wanted to do, like I didn't think I was ready to be president by any means a few years ago. I was like, oh, I think I'd want to wait for a little bit longer, but you're never going to be fully ready. And
No,
if
you're
that's
not.
what's scaring you and that imposter syndrome's getting to you, get that out of your head, because nobody ran against me at the time. So that's the other thing. Like, we have an election, and I would have loved to have been voted in properly, like, not
Yeah, I
just
know what you
I'm
mean.
the only person, like,
Yeah,
but nobody had anybody else to choose from, and so if I didn't do it, who else was gonna? And
right.
so I did it, and I loved it, and I really enjoyed my year, and I think I did a good job. I'm not trying to, like, toot my own horn here, but I do think I did a good job with what I was
Hmm.
told. But again, people don't be like, oh, it's the same people running, or they're da da da. Well, we need people involved, and I think that's like
Yeah,
the
like you
biggest
said,
thing.
you have to make your voice heard. I'd like to add on to something else beyond the connections. That definitely I think is top one for me.
Hmm.
As I've come to my current role, as I've learned things, it's also made me, now obviously we were in quote unquote leadership positions. It has made me a better leader. I only looked at these positions and volunteer opportunities as leadership maybe 6 months ago. I never looked at them, literally had them listed on my resume just as a one-liner. Now I have taken the time to list all the types of duties and leadership qualities that those positions have given me today. If you're someone who wants to go to be a manager, a supervisor of some kind, these are positions as being a chair, co-chair, leading a committee. You're leading. No matter what you are doing, you are leading in some capacity. And even if you're like on a planning committee, and like I said, I was co-chair of the entire committee, but we had subcommittees. So like there was sponsorship, there was a poster session. You led that section. You are a leader. So what are you taking out of that? And again, only until about 6 months ago did I realize, oh my gosh, all of those volunteer opportunities were all of my leadership opportunities. And what I learned and grew from out of those, I couldn't replace it today. As you said, it's a networking and connection, but while you're connecting, you're leading in some way.
Yeah, and I think too. I mean, we have a variety of other ways you can volunteer listed on like our notes section here, but I mean, we're sharing this because they are experiences and they are important to share. And I think, just being involved in general is super important, and having that seat at the table is important. Um, just so you feel like you're involved, and you don't feel like you're being a passive observer of a lot of things. So that leadership experience is invaluable, and it gives you so many other opportunities to grow. And I think people will say, oh, it's a resume builder, but it's also like a personal growth developer.
Yeah.
um I mean, when I was a student, I mean, I knew I was more outspoken than some of my friends, and I knew that I had potential to maybe do leadership, but I never envisioned myself as a leader per se. Now, as I'm older and have experience in a variety of different leadership roles, I can say, like, yes, I am comfortable leading an organization or leading students, or, you know, like I said, you don't feel like you're going to be ready for anything until you just do it, and then you get the experience, and then like
Mm-hmm.
you feel better and you feel like you're going
Mm-hmm.
to continue to grow with that. So, with that said, I mean, like Emily talked about, that's how we met, and that's how we became really good friends too, which is like another super valuable piece of this, is just, you never know what's going to happen from these connections. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
did I ever think in like my teens or 20s that I would have started a podcast with somebody talking about this? Absolutely not. I didn't even know what a podcast was back then. Like, so you just never know what opportunities are going to arise from those. I mean, even for jobs. I mean, there are so many people that have gotten jobs based off of how they've done volunteer work, and what that looks like in the future for, other jobs that you might want or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like, all those skills are super applicable, and you'll never know where you're going to need those skills. So, but yeah, like, I mean, I've heard of people volunteering. I know there's ways you can volunteer for the academy at the national level as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and you could be a program reviewer, you can be on a committee for like professional education, and there's a variety of other things, but that can lead to a job with the academy. Like, you don't know what's going to happen from that. Um so yeah.
Yeah, I want to point out too, you mentioned it before about like public policy and advocacy. this is where I learned of that. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, let's not get political and talk about that. But policy and advocacy is politics. So we do have to get involved in that because what we do relies on how bills are passed. And that is politics, unfortunately. Yes, do we love it? No, but it has to be done. So this is where I learned about the passion for that and how much it does matter to get involved in that.
Well, and nutrition is policy, health is policy. Everything is tied back to policy. We have seen now in very recent times that the politics behind everything, I don't know how you say you're not political, because everybody needs to be political, and if you're not, you are so privileged to not have to worry about those things, because there are so many things that affect policy that are related to nutrition, to health, to science, to public health, to billing, to telehealth. It is all intertwined in whatever job that you're going to be in. And how we do that is through our volunteer groups. Unfortunately, like, that's how it gets done, because a lot of work, like, groups, like, your job isn't going to advocate for you, but the volunteer groups are going to advocate for you.
Yes.
And being involved with that, like I said, I was never comfortable talking to like politicians when I was a student or anything like that. Like, I'm not saying you have to go out and do that, but being involved gets you involved and gets you to be more informed at what policies are affecting your job, or your roles, or who's encroaching on our roles, or who's trying to take away stuff, or what that looks like in the future for nutrition. I mean, we just saw recently red dye was banned and blah blah blah. Like, that's all political, whether you want it to be or not. It doesn't matter. I'm teaching weight inclusivity this year. That is very much political. Believe it or not, weight stigma and weight bias is very much ingrained in our public policy today. So there is just so many areas, and just being involved gives you that insight.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, you might not get comfortable ever, but being involved with PAND, so our Pennsylvania Academy, I've gotten comfortable with advocacy and sending letters. Like, that's the most simple thing you can do. And I know I'm getting off topic a little bit here. Most simple thing you can do without having to verbally open your mouth, meet someone, send a letter. The Academy has our action alerts that we can quickly do for all of the different bills that are out that are trying to get passed. Quick send a letter. I just last week met, or maybe 2 weeks ago now, met one of our local congressmen, and it was a very easy discussion. And at some point I threw in there about dietitians and how we are part of these accredited programs, and we're so proud of that. So there is way to get, they need to be educated. That's the biggest thing here. They don't know everything, just like we don't know everything, just like a doctor does not know everything about every health area. We have to educate those who are voting for these bills because we are their constituents. So that's where the Pennsylvania Academy and advocacy, learning about that, being involved on that committee. Again, if you can't make it here and there, no problem. Be on the committee so you can learn, so you can do some kind of volunteering. Maybe they need help with sending some emails or looking up certain things. That's how I got started. I was our local kind of legislative intern, if you will, and I helped our dietitian who was in charge of that and has led that for many years. So it's simple things like that to get started in as an intern. When someone also like suggests to you, hey, you would be really good at this, they are kind of networking and pulling you in like a job. Like, hey, I know you've got the skills to do that. We want you. I want you. I know I can work with you. Let's get you to volunteer. That's a really positive thing if you're younger, as far as being an intern, a student, or even a newer dietitian. So not age younger, but newer in the field. That's really positive when you have a dietitian calling you to volunteer.
Yeah, 100%. I don't know, Emily, do you want to discuss some of the other groups that you can volunteer with? And
so sure, with the academy, we have the member interest groups, or that focus on certain special interests, the dietetic practice groups, so that's DPGs. So those are the ones part of the academy. There's task forces, there's research projects, publication opportunities. So within those different sections, that's how you could volunteer. Micki had mentioned some of that before. We even have like the American Society for Nutrition. That's an area, like if you're a part of that, try and volunteer for some committee that they have. Reach out to, if it's the president, if it's the secretary or whoever, reach out and say, hey, what are your volunteer opportunities? And it's not a you have to, it's I'm wondering what's available and let me see if it'll work for me. You also probably want to ask, like, what's the time commitment, especially if you're like, I don't know. Ask what the time commitment is. Is it weekly? Is it monthly? Do you have to get on meetings? Do you have to do, like, we'll call it homework or duties in between when you're meeting? What else is involved? So that way you know ahead of time and can assess, can I make this work? Can I be dedicated? And we know volunteering. You are volunteering. We know this is not a job for you. You're not getting paid. So we understand if things come up. And that's why you have a whole nother committee, or you have a group of people, or you have the leaders above you to say, hey, look, I've got something going on this week, personal, work related, whatever. I can't meet this deadline. Can I get some help? No one's going to say no. No one's going to not respond. We're all here to support you, at least from our experiences. Everyone works together. We all want everyone to succeed, and we all have an end goal, as Micki said. You know, we're all working towards a strategic goal and have ideas throughout the year. We want to meet that, so we're going to help each other out. And you know what? If things don't get done, let's say it's kind of an out of this world thought process and you're working your way, but you're just like creeping your way up there. We get it. It's okay. So no one's going to fail. No one's going to fail you as a volunteer. We're all there to support and help each other. So there's the American Society for Nutrition, the Nutrition Society, Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics Foundation. So that is separate from the academy groups. We have the International Confederation of Dietetic Associations, the American Public Health Association. So maybe that's a realm that you prefer to work in. Join their membership, see how you can get involved. If you're more into that sports world, we have the American College of Sports Medicine, the International Society of Sports. There's also PINE, and I can't think of what it stands for, but that's another sports one. It's worldwide. They have a DPG as well for the sports area. So those are just a couple that we had listed that are in addition to the academy. Again, there's Aspen as well. So if you're into more of like the enteral nutrition, parenteral nutrition, kind of critical care nutrition, they, I am sure, have volunteer opportunities as well.
Yeah, there's two others that I wanted to mention. There's Diversified Dietetics, which is, aimed to help diversify our profession. As we know, it's primarily white and female. So, if that's something that's up your alley, you could volunteer with them. There's also an RD2B group that does like a lot of help with like interns and students. So if you're like really into mentoring, that's a great way to volunteer as well. And they always make events for students and things like that. So that's another great thing. So just, it can't hurt to ask, Google it, look it up, see what you come up with. But overall, there's so many opportunities, and I'm sure nobody is going to turn away that help in general.
No, not at all. So we are obviously here to support you, to help you, guide you to volunteer opportunities. Obviously, we have connections. So Micki was our state president. I'm sure she has connections amongst the United States. We also have many friends and colleagues across the United States. I even know some Canadian dietitians. So if you're kind of seeking, like, where can I get started? Email us, shoot us an email, comment, message us on Instagram, whatever you want to do to get things started for you, to say, hey, these are my interests. I really do want to volunteer. If you're in Pennsylvania, always looking for volunteers. So we can guide you to that and help you get started, and see, what a good balance would be for you. Give you even recommendations for what sounds like a good type of opportunity. I will say I loved, because we did it at the local level, we shared, Micki and I were the professional education chair and co-chair. I love, I'll say, developing, planning events like that. Is it a lot of work? Absolutely. But like when you see the final product, and like I remember when my AME year happened, and the only issue we kind of had was that like the microphones stopped working in certain rooms, and we had to like run a couple of them between the rooms. That was really the only main issue that we found, that I knew of at least. So really everything kind of ran smoothly. That comes with a full planning committee. They made it happen. They made it not be any issue. And I was kind of just there to monitor the situation at the end and make sure that everything ran smoothly. So it's just great to see. And I'm sure, Micki, you have things being president. I'm sure you just kind of look back and are like, wow, that was a really good thing that happened.
Yeah, like I mentioned before, it's just a really rewarding thing. And yes, it's a lot of work, but to see the end result, I think with anything that you work really hard on, it's just lovely to see the end result and just like how it impacts others as well. And I don't know, it's just very rewarding, I guess, is just the biggest thing. So if that's something you're into, I highly recommend at least getting involved in some sort of volunteer position. Um,
And
but
even if
yeah,
it's at work, like like I mentioned earlier, it might be at work that you start. Maybe they have
yeah.
different committees, like an employee health committee or something like that. We have one that's run by the chaplain, and like it's kind of great to get on because you enjoy hearing, whether it's the spiritual things, the fun things that are happening, kind of get away from that like work life, but it's
Mhm.
still nutrition focused. There's a health focus there. Whatever you can do, again, reach out to us. We're happy to help, happy to open up our thoughts and guide you to some volunteer opportunities.
Yeah, so I think that kind of wraps up this episode with our topic. So, do we want to get into our sweets and our sours?
Sure thing.
All right. Do you want me to go first, or do you
Go
want to go
ahead. No, go ahead. It
first?
doesn't
Okay.
matter to me.
My sour right now is I am just looking at all of the fun stuff that I have to do at home. I think I kind of said this last episode, but just like even just cleaning and like spring cleaning, like I'm not a huge and I'm not saying like I'm dirty, but I'm not a big cleaner. Like I have to make it fun to do it. So like even just taking out like your winter clothes to your spring clothes and all that fun stuff. Like, yes, normally I would look forward to that, but it's like the process of doing it I'm not looking
Sure.
forward to. So that's my sour for the week. What about you?
Mine is I have so many books that I need to read, and some of them are just such small print. Like I just bought one of these books, and it's nutrition education, I will say, but I'm just like, "Oh my gosh, this is such small font." So I'm just dreading reading it even though I really want to read it. And I have a couple other books that are kind of similar, a couple nutrition. So I try and throw in like nutrition, leadership related, and then I throw in like a fun one. So I just did more of like a personal growth one. Now I'm trying to read like a more mystery series, I will say. And then I will probably go into the nutrition one, or maybe kind of like go into the mystery one and the nutrition one at the same time so I can kind of balance it out. But I'm not a reader. I never have been. My whole family has been, but I am just like not a reader. So it's really hard for me to get through books. I did finish one. We were talking offline about the one book, the Let Them Theory by Mel Robbins, right? Mel Robbins, yeah. And that one I read in like 4 days, in the evenings. And great, perfect size font, quick read, easy to read, made sense. But when it gets to like more challenging words, my vocabulary is not the greatest, I will say. Something I want to work on. But even though I took vocabulary in high school, like an intense vocabulary class in high school, compared to my friends, no, I don't have a very extensive vocabulary because I don't read. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the same way though. Like I have so many books that I want to read too, and like they're all stacked up. And like I was reading a lot last year. I tried to make it more of a point, but then I kind of like fell off the bandwagon a little bit. But I'm trying to get back into it more. I'm actually reading a book about comedy right now. And then me and Carmen also have that book club that we do. But I'm behind on that, so like it's just like it ebbs and flows, and it's
Mhm.
okay to take a break. Sometimes you can't read anymore. You're burnt
Right.
out. I mean, we read all day for work sometimes.
Yeah.
Especially me. I mean, I read all the time for
Yeah.
work. I mean, you at least have some patient interaction. Me, I'm like between emails and papers and all that fun stuff, like you just never stop reading. So
Yeah.
that is not the thing that I want to do at the end of the day. So
Mhm.
I totally empathize with you on that. Like, it's okay. And, I'm glad that like you're finding a little bit of a niche, and it's okay not to be like, that's not your favorite thing to do. You know, there's other things that you're great at. So that's,
Well, thank you. Well, I
yeah.
do have a reading corner now. So we got a new couch, and like my chairs are in the room that I want it to be kind of like the Zen room. So maybe that'll help me too. I just need to get my side table where I can put the books, so that way I can go there and do it.
Nice. Cool. Awesome. Do you want to do sweet?
I'll do my sweet first, sure. So I'm just excited. I know it always is kind of weather related, but in a way it is. But like I'm trying to bring in more like flowers into my home just to kind of brighten things up, even if they're fake. I did buy some fake ones last week, and it just makes it seem, the weather is getting nicer out. So it just makes it seem a little more alive in the house now. I put all the snowmen away because I'm like, I can't see snow anymore. So I'm just excited that I'm kind of trying to liven up the house a little bit, and make it a little more cheerful.
Yeah. Awesome. So my sweet, I don't think I mentioned this officially on the podcast. I did mention it to you, but I don't think I mentioned it to the podcast. So I can officially say that I like, y'all are probably like, what is this girl gonna do now? Like, what is she doing next? What is this girl? What is her life? So I have been invited. I have accepted, and I'm doing at Marywood University, Pacers Dancing with the Stars. So it's part of a fundraiser for the Lehigh Valley Children's Hospital. So I have met my dance partner. We've got kind of like a plan. So we have to start practicing and stuff. But it was announced, so I can officially say it now. I'm very
Yay!
excited about it. I'm a dancer at heart, so it's going to be a fun time. So I'm excited to do that. There will be a fundraising page and stuff too. So not that I'm
Perfect.
like,
Send it.
yeah, I'm not saying like you all, my audience, has to donate,
No,
but it
we're
would be
sharing it.
awesome.
Send it.
But awesome if you would. That would be great, because there is a fan favorite who raises the most money. So even if I don't win the competition, I would love to win fan favorite. So that
Hey,
would be
let's do it. Let's do it, everyone. Let's go. Woo!
it to my cause. I don't have the link yet, but I will post it eventually, maybe on our page if you're interested. But yeah, so I'm really excited about that. It hasn't been in the works for long. I was very hesitant to do it at first, but I really wanted to. Like, I was really looking forward to doing it. I was just like, I'm so busy. When am I going to do this? But I'm so happy. It's going to be fun.
Well, and it's like a short time frame, right? So
Yeah,
like
it's
you have an
only,
end in sight.
yeah, it's one show. It's not like a progressive season of multiple. Like, learned one dance. It's one show. It's Friday, April 25th. So if you're in the area, there are tickets, so you can come and support me that way as well. And if there's a ticket link, I'll post all the things. But yeah, so it'll be a fun time. It's just a one-time thing. It's not like a progressive thing throughout the semester, and it's just for a good cause, which is what I'm most excited about.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
congrats. I'm looking forward to it. And I told you if they need any other dancers, I'm not a dancer. I always wanted to be one. So I would love to do something like that.
Maybe, I don't know if they'll have like an alumni one, but if they ever
They
do,
should.
like,
They should have an alumni one that
yeah,
you
because I
should
think
share that.
I think they picked a couple of different celebrities. One was faculty, one was like a staff member, one was a board member. So I don't know
So
the
you're a
process.
celebrity. Guys, we got a celebrity on the podcast.
I'm the
Woo!
faculty celebrity, so I'm not the most famous celebrity on. Like, I'm like the B-list celebrity, I think, of all of them. But
Any celebrity. Doesn't matter.
yeah, but hey, I was just happy to be thought of and included when they thought of me. I was like, oh my God, that's so awesome. So I'm very, very grateful and thankful that they did that.
Yeah. Oh, that's so fun. Well, that'll kind of like wrap us up for, or get us into the next season, season 3, where we really dive into some of that other nutrition information. We're going to kind of share more like how to go around that information, as we've shared in some episodes, how to figure out, is this, real evidence information, or are we kind of looking at some fluff here and some more, I won't say made up stuff, but things that maybe are more personal
or just
not
clickbaity,
evidence-based.
like clickbaity stuff, like things that like there's no backing to them, but they're just to get views and get likes and stuff like that. So yeah, I think, after this episode, because this is episode 20, we are going to take just a smidge, a little bit of a break, just to kind of get our bearings for our next season. So it won't be a long break. It'll probably be only a couple weeks or so. So there won't be any episodes coming out after this week for like maybe a week or two or something like that. And we're going to do some planning and catching up and try and make some improvements as well, and all that fun stuff. So, we're always looking to improve. We're always looking to hear that topics that you want to hear about. So if there's something that's pressing and you want to hear about it, put your questions, your comments in the Spotify comment box, or if you're on YouTube, comment there. Whatever floats your boat. Send us an email. Happy to do that, because we are planning our next season. So, with that said, thank you for joining us today. I think that's the end, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, if you are in the mood for a boost of juice, this is our tagline now. You can check out the RD Squeeze on Sundays. Again, this is season 2. That concludes season 2. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, everyone. See you in season 3.
Be sure to follow us on Spotify, YouTube, and Instagram. We will always take topics you want to hear about, so message us for any topics you want to see covered on the RD Squeeze. Don't forget, it's dietitian with a T. We'll see you next time on the RD Squeeze.